Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to AskGolfNut channel and welcome to Tour Edge Exotics LS. This takes over from their C725 of last year. We do have those two weight ports at the bottom. Technology wise, this is the low spin head. We've got the 18 gram at the back and the 5 at the front. If you want to make this low spin driver even more low spinning, you can flip them around. I will be doing the data sets when it comes to the three different swing speeds, 80, 95 and 110 miles an hour with that weight at the back, but I might just flip that around quickly to see how much difference it does make when you move those weights around. We'll also be testing the variable face thickness, the pyramid technology that Tour Edge like to talk about, trying to keep ball speeds up across the face when you don't hit the middle. But commonly when we're talking about a curved face like this, driver is no different to fairy woods and hybrids. When you're looking at a curved face, different to a flat-faced iron, efficiency is not the most important thing because there's going to be launch differences and spin differences when you don't hit the middle on a curved face driver. Distance factor is the most important thing. We will be doing the heat map side of things for the efficiency and also the distance factor to see how good this driver is. We have got carbon everywhere. There is more carbon on this version than the old C725. And to try and keep this carbon intact and not explode upon impact, we do have that 360 Ridgeback titanium frame. If you go down by the golf ball though, again, this is the LS head. This is the 440cc. This is not the 460 of which is the max. And when you go down by the golf ball and you put them both together, you can distinctly tell that you've got the LS in your hand. This is a much smaller footprint. If you look at the face though, it does look, it's a little bit fatter, it's a little bit taller than that of the Max, or at least it looks that way. I'm at the same hole that I was at the Max, the drivable par 4. It's 270 yards, I think it is, give or take. Now, I'm gonna try and take my swing from 110 to 105 or so to try and protect the old knee. So let's go see how we get on. It is, I tell you what, straight away from doing the Max, going to the LS, it does look smaller down by the golf ball. Oh, blocked it. I would say that's a safe route rather than the bunker, but that's a little bit munchy over there. Yep, that's definitely my fault. Club speed 106 miles an hour. Club path is good, 0.5 from the outside, just basically 0. But there's the face, 2.7 degrees. So I basically told the golf ball to do exactly that. It's an interesting one going from the Max to this one. Whether it's exactly the same shaft. I've changed the head, just kept the shaft exactly the same. I've got the Ventus red in this one, the 5 stiff. This one wants to stay a fraction more open. I'll keep an eye on that one. 3mm toe, 3mm high, so not a bad strike at all. I can't complain about that. Felt really very, very nice. It just went out to the right somewhat and into the munchy. It's better there than it is in that bunker at the front though. That's really low down. Feel-wise, it feels really, really nice. Can I tell a difference between this one and the Max? Being honest, not really. This is all carbon. Apart from that titanium 360 Ridgeback framing, etc., effectively this is all carbon. So carbon drivers can feel a little bit muted, a bit dull. This thing has got a little bit of pop to it, which is actually quite nice. It's not as quiet as some drivers or carbon drivers are. Let's go give it another go. Let's see if I can not leave the face nearly 3 degrees open. Better. Will I run out of, oh, go on, Gary. Oh, that's close. But it's on-ish. Club speed, 104.9 miles an hour. Club path slightly across, face is basically 0 delivery. 10mm toe, 5mm high. That's my normal delivery where I normally like to hit it. I normally like to try and hit it fractionally high toe. A little bit too toey, but not too bad at all. Carry 258 yards, 105 miles an hour. That's not bad at all, but spin is at 2.2. Now, of course, this is a low spin head. We'll actually see what happens. Compare this one to the Max from a spin point of view anyway, but 18 yards offline. You take that one all day long. Happy we hit the green from this distance, 270 or so yards. It's a win. Where's that tee gone? Over here. Really need to make these yellow or any color other than black. Works really well, feels really good, looks quite nice. I think I prefer the Max from the looks because again, it's just the sole. And again, you don't look at the sole when you're hitting the golf ball, do you? But from a looks point of view, having that extra port at the front because of that movable weight, I prefer the Max. Is a little bit cleaner, but it's doing really quite well. That's a poor hit for me, slightly high in the face. That's going to do everything that we want it to, but it's high in the face. You get more feedback from this golf club. Club speed 105 or so miles an hour. We're looking at club path slightly across, 1.5 across, face is slightly open, 1.4 degrees open, so little baby fade dynamics, but not bad. 1 mil heel, 7 mil high. It's only 7 millimeters high, but that feels higher than it actually is. You get more feedback on the LS than you do the Max. Now, whether that's because of the fact that the Max has got 10.5 K's worth of forgiveness, that lovely little MOI number that they like to give out, and this one's got, I think, around about 8,800 or so. I'll see if I can put up on the screen so you can see. Not that it really matters, but you do get more feedback from this. I am detecting where I'm hitting it on the face more on this one than I can do the Max. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but it's working very, very well. Carried 259 yards, spinners at 2.3. And of course, if I was using these at my normal 110 mile an hour speed, I would knock it down to 9 degrees, of which you can also with the adjustable, you kind of get the idea. I'd probably still have the Max though. I feel that if I was having a bad day, the Max is going to be a little bit more helpful. It keep me closer to where I want to be. But if you want to bomb one, you take the LS. I quite like it. I think I'd take the Max. That's my fault again. That's hugging the right-hand side. Good strike, but my fault delivering the face slightly open. Back in the cabbage. Oh, I need to dial the speed down a fraction. Club head speed 107.5 miles an hour. Club path is still slightly across, and there's the face. 2.9 degrees open. That is not going to win any prizes. That's going to go out to the right-hand side, of which it did. 2 mil toe, 5 mil low. That's a decent strike. Can't complain at all. But we're going 23 yards right because of my face being open. 263 carry, again, not bad at all. 39 yards in the air and slightly under 43 degrees descent angle. So it's performing better from a chasing down the fairway point of view than the Max would do. But then you'd expect that being the LS. It's more sensitive than that of the Max. But again, guys, if you know how to deliver a face and you want something which is going to be more of a lower spinning option than the Max, is doing it. What's that? 2.7 from a face open to a path is not bad, considering this is a 10.5 degree head. Right, one last one. That's more the delivery I would like. That's now getting down there. I just saw 106 miles an hour, so it's not fast. Yeah, club speed 105.7 miles an hour. Path is basically 0. Face is fractionally open, 1 degree. That's interesting. But strike is good, 0 mil toe, 4 millimeters low, so still fractionally low on the face. But spinning up at 2.4. I will swap the weights around in the sort of turn the camera off and hit loads of shots, etc. Get the numbers that we'll look at the second for 3 different swing speeds and all that. I will just flick these over quickly to see what that 18 gram at the front does as opposed to the 5. But it's doing really well. I can't complain. 265 yards of carry from 105 point something miles an hour swing speed. So it's working very, very well. Right, let's go hit this at 3 different swing speeds, 80, 95, 110 miles an hour. Let's also go test that face. We've hit a few shots that are not quite bob on, but what I'm going to be talking about is proper miss hits. How good is this golf club at trying to keep up distance across the face and all ball speed, because obviously Tour Edge talk about how good it is at keeping ball speed up. We'll look at that. But the more important thing is the distance factor. When you don't hit the middle, how good is it at actually hitting the distance that it should do? All the shots now hit with the Tour Edge Exotics LS driver. I've got 3 different swing speeds, I've got the heat maps, but I've also flipped that weight. I've captured some information, the data sets of the weight forward as well, to see how much difference moving that weight forward and see if it makes any difference when it comes to its spin rate, when it comes to its launch angle, but more importantly, its face consistency, its efficiency, all those different things. So let's go first of all, have a look at the heat maps with the weight at the back to see how it looks. On the screen, you can see this is a heat map representation of how good that face is at keeping ball speed up across it. If you have a look all the way to the minus 30 on the left-hand side at the top there, you can see that is the toe side, and plus 30 on the right-hand side, that is the heel. We're looking as though we are looking at it as face on. We've got high and also low on there as well. And all the numbers you can see there is as the millimeters go across the face, how much ball speed you lose when you don't hit the middle. That's no different to the Max, is a fairly decent green blob. It's big And with that pyramid technology that Tour Edge like to talk about and making a big song and dance about, is doing a really, really good job of keeping ball speed up across the face. However, if efficiency of the face, like an iron, is the most important thing, because an iron has got a flat face, unfortunately this has not got a flat face. It has got a roll and bulge face, so we are looking at different launches, we're looking at different spins when you don't hit the middle, and the distance factor map is by far the most important thing. So let's go have a look at the distance factor map, and as you can see, the green blob is distinctly smaller, and that is because when you hit different parts of the face, you are going to launch different, you're going to spin different, and of course that will translate into different distances. So the distance factor map is a measure of how fast it goes, or how far it goes from the middle, and then when you move away from the middle, what happens to your distance? Do you lose distance? Or commonly in drivers, no different to the LS, and also max drivers as well, that you are going to get a slight blue blob. This is the Gen 2 maps, the generation or the second generation maps, where you can measure now the fast or the furthest part of the face. And you can see on the heat map there that the actually around about, what is that, about 5 millimeters or so toe and about 9 millimeters high, it actually gains in and around 3% of distance when you hit it away from middle by that amount. And that is because you get a slightly higher launch and slightly lower spin, and it does, you get more advantageous ball dynamics from flight. And so you can see this is where with the Gen 2 maps we can now measure the hotspot. Ball speed is important, yes it is, but ball dynamics is by far the most important thing. Again, when you're looking at low on the face, it does pretty darn well, and you don't go into the red until you go to well into the toe and well into the heel. It's for a low spin driver, it is pretty darn consistent. This is with the weight though at the back. This is what happens when you put the weight in the front. You can see the shape changes very slightly. The blue blob, the fast part of the face or the furthest part of the face, gets smaller straight away because of the fact that now, because of the lower spin rate, you're looking at the middle is by far more efficient from a point of view of the amount of spin that you need to get the most out of it. They're the differences anyway between the heat maps when you're looking at moving the weight to the front from the back. Let's have a look at the different swing speeds now, the 80, 95, 110 miles an hour. These are all nominalized, take me out of the equation. So these have all got 16 degrees of loft and hitting up by 4.5 degrees angle of attack. And we are talking about center hits. Now this is the LS with the weight at the back. I'll show you what happens when you put the weight at the front in a bit, but you're looking at ball speed for an 80 mile an hour swing is 116 miles an hour, which is absolutely fine. Launching nearly 12 degrees, which is good. This one has a slightly higher launch factor than the Max. So like for like, these are all 10.5 degrees. Now with the LS, they don't make it as a 12 degree head like they do in the Max option. So for a slow swing speed golfer, if you generate a lot of spin and you're looking for an LS version, low spin, to try and take some spin away, remember you've only got a certain amount of wiggle room. 10.5 degrees is the highest head they have. You have got adjustability in the head, but a slow swing speed, I'd probably look at swing rather than equipment, but there you go. Spins at 1522, which is dangerously low. Like dangerously low. I would, if we had this from a custom fitting point of view straight away, I'd be looking at, yeah, we need to be going to a different head. Low spin heads are definitely not there. You have not got to go far, and even 1522, you get a breath of wind, which is going like downhill, downwind, you're just going to lose lift and the ball is just going to fall out of the sky. You haven't got to worry about trying to eke out those distance, those yards, those 1, 2, 5 yards, when you're going to be losing 50, when that ball just does not have any lift whatsoever and it just falls out the sky. 80 miles an hour, you haven't got the swing speed to bludgeon the golf ball through the air, so I would be concerned about that. Go to a 95 miles an hour though, ball speed's up now nearly 140 miles an hour, 138. Launch is still 11.9. When you change speed, launch does not change. Just spin rate and ball speed basically do, and of course the associated distances, etc. But you're looking at 223 yards spin, 1800 RPM. That is still not a lot of spin, and so I would be looking at trying to loft up as best you can do, even at the 95 miles an hour. If you go to 110 miles an hour though, you can see how the ball speed now goes up to basically 160 miles an hour. Interestingly enough, that the Max has got a slightly faster face than the LS, but spins now at 2.1, which is a much nicer number for that kind of area of swing speed. Carried 274 yards, which is not bad at all, and you can see the offline on there because it's got a slight bias as a slight draw not by much. You're looking at 110 miles an hour, and it's basically 5 yards baseline draw, which is fairly uncommon, I would say, for a low spin. Commonly, low spin heads have a fade bias to them, and so it's actually quite nice to see a driver like the Callaways have also a slight bias towards the left-hand side. But 5 yards at 110 miles an hour, going 274 yards, 5 yards is hardly anything. What happens though when you move the weight forward? And as you can see, it goes go about 80 miles an hour. The ball speed is 115.5 rather than 116. So you lose a fraction ball speed, so half a mile an hour. But effectively, launch goes up. And this is the interesting thing. As soon as you start moving that weight forward, the weight is lower down. So you are going to get more vertical gearing. So the actual launch angle goes up slightly, only by 0.3 of a degree, but it's still there. And spin now is now 107 RPM lower and now at 1400 RPM for an 80 miles an hour swing. This is daft. This is so far out of the realms of what is acceptable. It is just crazy. And so absolutely, if you're a slow swing speed golfer, please don't put the weight forward unless you are someone who suffers massively from spin. But at 80 miles an hour, if you do suffer massively from spin, I would seriously say to look at getting your swing looked at rather than looking at equipment. If you go 95 miles an hour though, you're looking at ball speed 137 miles an hour, spins at 1700 or no, 1680. That is still massively low, and so yes, going down the same route, no difference to 80 miles an hour. I'd be lofting this up as best I can do. Now the chances are obviously launching at 12.2, adding a bit of spin from the extra loft, if you were to go and maximize the loft sleeve on this golf club, then you could actually get some more distance definitely, and carry to 123 yards is not bad whatsoever, but you could probably gain a few more if you were to utilize the loft sleeve. Go 110 miles an hour now, you got ball speed 159, launching at 12.2, spins at under 2000 RPM. This is long dog territory. Now of course, these are all centered hits. These are not measured from the fastest part of the face, the furthest part of the face, going back to the distance factor maps. And as you can see, when it comes to most drivers, slightly high toe is the best place for you to hit to get the most out of your shot. So again, these are measured from the middle, and so this is why the distance actually doesn't change much. But if you were to start hitting these actually in the furthest part of the face, you will then start to see a little bit more in the way of distance. But remember those spin numbers, launch factor and spin rates change when you start moving high on the face. And so yes, you might get a more advantageous launch angle, but you will reduce in spin. And even 110 miles an hour, it's already at 1945. It's a fairly low spin driver when you have that weight in the front. Quickly, let's have a look at the advanced data. All the data that you've seen so far, no difference, the advanced data will be in the tables, is available on my website, www.askgolfnut.com, where we have a growing database for the drivers, no different to the irons. We've concentrated more on the irons first, and we've got about 100 or so to date. And so when you're looking at the drivers, we will be building these and comparing these up against all of the new upcoming drivers, because we're coming to silly season for 2025, 2026. And of course, the whole idea of the website is allow golfers to compare all the drivers together and see which one is going to suit them more than the others. So as a quick look, you can see the distance factor, launch factor, face spin rate, vertical spin, side spin, head bias. We'll go distance factor first. Distance factor is basically just a measure of what happens when you're looking at how much distance does it create for the clubhead speed, and this is a measure of its ball speed, its face speed, it's how well it launches, and what its spin rate is as well. And you can see it's firmly in the long. This is with the weight at the back, not weight forward, weight at the back. The launch factor is fairly good. It's in the average section. It's not massively high, it's not massively low. And the face spin rate, no surprise there, being a low spin head, it's firmly in the low. That's why it does very, very well on its distance factor, because it launches the golf ball absolutely fine, and the face spin rate is fairly low. Remember, this distance factor is for the 110 or so miles an hour. You went and saw what happens when you take some speed away and you go into the 80 miles an hour. It doesn't take much for you to lose distance because of the fact it hasn't got enough spin to keep the golf ball in the air. So just bear that in mind. Vertical spin is how sensitive the golf club is when you start hitting high and low on the face, of how well it keeps the spin consistency. And it starts to move about 3% every millimeter you move. So it doesn't take much. If you move, well, 10 millimeter on the face and you have a 30% difference of your spin, you can already see Hitting high in the face, great. The problem is that you also reduce spin as well. No different to if you move low on the face. This is what happens when you have a low spin head, because the center of gravity is much closer to the face. You get a bigger variance in how much it wants to spin the golf ball. Side spin is just a measure of what happens when you hit it toe and heel, and how much you have to, when you move across the face, how much tilt axis, how many degrees of tilt axis is applied, or curvature applied to the golf ball when you move. So of course, if you move 10 millimeters on the toe, you will be getting about 7 degrees of tilt axis draw. When you have a face which is zero, all those everything's zeroed out, but you just hit it off the toe, that is how much gear effect you are going to see and how much curvature you're going to see. And head bias is just a basic measure of how biased the head is. You will see commonly that the low spin heads will have a head bias, a little bit fade bias. This is quite interesting because this has a slight draw bias to it. So when you have the middle, it basically puts a minus 1.9 degrees of tilt axis, so 2 degrees of tilt axis of minus its draw. Okay. It's marginal, it's tiny really in the realm of all that's sensible, and you do get drivers which have far more draw bias than this, and also far more fade bias than this. So it's very much so if you're looking for a low spin head that doesn't lose the golf ball out to the right every single time, that a lot of low spin heads have a tendency to do, be set up in a way that is more fade bias. Well, we have a low spin head, which is slightly draw, not by much, it's still firmly in the green and the neutral, but it's just slightly draw biased. What happens when you push the weight a little bit further forward? When you get that 18 gram and then 5 gram, swap them around and see what happens. Distance factor, there you go, firmly in the maxed out. This is one of the longest drivers, potentially longest drivers for a fast swing speed golfer on the planet. It is amazely good at getting the launch factor, getting up there. Now you can see it's gone from low average to high average, and the face spin rate is just plummeted. No different than what we saw on the 3 different swing speeds. As soon as you start moving that weight forward, the face spin rate just comes off straight away. So if you are a fast swing speed golfer and you want to try and maximize this, now this is the 10.5 degree head. Of course, you have movement in the loft sleeve, but this is really good at potentially getting the golf ball out there mentally long. If you go vertical spin though, how sensitive it is when you put that weight forward, you can see straight away, as soon as you put that weight even closer to the face, as you move high on the face, as you move low on the face, you have a distinct sensitivity to its spin rate, and it's quite high. Side spin is a measure of how much tilt axis is applied, and actually it's pretty darn good. 0.7 of a degree is not bad considering this is a low spin head. And head bias, as you saw from the previous one when it was minus 1.9 degrees, when you move that weight forward, actually it makes it slightly more draw bias. Now that's, I think, from going back to the 3 different swing speeds, the difference between a 5-yard baseline 110 miles an hour draw to a 10-yard draw. So just bear in mind, when you have that head bias, when you move that weight forward, it just gets a little bit more drawy. So as a conclusion to the Tour Edge Exotics LS driver, looks, feel, performance and forgiveness. I'm going to go looks and feel first. Looks, I like it. I'm not quite a fan as much as I am the Max. The Max without that port at the bottom has a slightly cleaner look, where the LS driver with that port, again, it gives it its flexibility, being able to move that weight from the back and to the front. I'm not quite sure how many people are going to need that weight at the front, but it does give you that option anyway. When it comes to the sound that this golf club makes, the feel of it, it's really quite nice. A lot of the common carbon drivers have this really muted, dull, dead sound. Now that's absolutely fine. I come back from the titanium days where there was some god-awful noise drivers, some ping drivers in the past. The G30 LS Tech, I still have my old G30 LS Tech, and by wowzers, that makes a sound. This one is a muted titanium sound, even with a carbon. It's a really quite nice feeling driver. When it comes to the performance and forgiveness, we'll bunch them together. It's a really long driver, potentially. If you've got the ball speed and you've got the club head speed for this driver, it could be massively long. It's really very good when it comes to its consistency of its spin rate left and right. So when you hit it toe and heel, it doesn't apply a massive amount of curvature to the golf ball. It is fairly sensitive though to vertical spin difference. So if you do hit it vertically as a miss, you are going to see some changes in your flight, shall we say, especially when you put that weight forward. If you put that weight forward, it becomes incredibly sensitive vertically, and so just be wary, you are going to have to hit the middle quite a bit, or at least be vertically stable if you are going to be moving that weight. When it comes to its bias, just remember it is slightly draw bias, and it does make it slightly more draw bias as well if you put that weight forward. And you can see by the heat maps as well, efficiency heat map is amazingly good, and you saw by the distance factor heat map, which is by far the most important heat map. For a low spin head, it does still rather well. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button, YouTube like so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It's great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. Next to that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you hit that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.